Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good, good, good.
What have you been doing today?
Making my nephew's life miserable by making him do math subtraction with.
Huh. Are you there?
Yes, I'm still here.
I don't understand where I went.
I see you.
Okay. I'm trying to click through screens to find why. There it is. There. Can you see my hover cam now?
No re.
Okay. Okay. I have two other participants so far, Harley and Donovan. I know you guys are all muted, so if you have something that you want to say or just want to say hi, just click the unmute. I'm going to wait just a little bit longer because it's just now 1:01 to start going over some things, but I'm kind of jotting down some notes to go over before we get started.
A really good shortcut key for the unmute is if you hold the space bar, it will temporarily unmute you, and then you can talk while you're holding it down, and then when you release it, it will remute you, so that way you don't get the background noise.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. See, not only, hey, Donovan.
Hi.
Hi. Not only did Miss J teach me how to do mixed numbers on our calculators, but now you're teaching me how to use the Zoom better. Yes, exactly. I'm very happy about that. All right, so I'm going to get started in case you guys have questions. I want to go over just a few things, and then again, if people are watching this video later, they are at least informed. I want to make sure that there's no confusion. Again, the no reassignments were all assigned. These first two were assigned right away that first week, and our benchmark trying to get them done should have been by the 22nd. The next assignment was given that following week, and we are trying to make sure that we have that finished by the 29th, so just this past Sunday. Our last assignment, again, should be done already, but if not, we're trying to make sure that it's all done by the 5th, and that this skills practice, where I've now probably done 2 or 3 problems with you, should be done no later than the Monday we come back from break. Now, what that means is when you finish them, you'll take pictures of them, you'll email them to me, and I can grade them as we go, so that if you want, you can check your email and I can tell you your score right away. So these, ultimately, most of us I've seen have at least one, if not 2 of them finished. There are a number of you that have all of them finished, which made me very happy. I am not loading all of the scores just yet because I don't want anybody to see zeros where there shouldn't be zeros yet. Remember, our skills practice is to be emailed in. So that is not something that is done online like the Knowre are being finished. Please note that if you have a passing score of, again, 60 or higher, that's going to get you completion credit. So I don't want any confusion there. What I do want you to also be aware of that is if for some reason we get pressed for time and we're not able to finish some things on time, know that you should be working. And my hope is that whatever you have finished, I can give you partial credit for. Now, that is not inviting you to not do your work. It's just saying that if for some reason you're not finished, as long as it's a passing score, I can give partial credit if 100% is not finished. Now, I did put this in your Google Classroom as just to kind of let you know what I see. I know what I see when I go in as a student, and it's on the side, the questions that I click on. And I know, for instance, if one assignment has 12 questions, there's videos in between, and I can click on that, and it gives me more than one chance to get the question correct. It offers a video, it offers a step-by-step, and we're able to walk through that so that maybe the second time or third time we go through, we're able to get the question correct. What I see at my end, and I cut off, there would have been student names over here. I'm hoping everybody can see the Knowre document that I put in Google Classroom right now. Can everybody see this document?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can see it. My mute thing isn't working.
No worries. Over here is the percentage completed. So on the left side here, you can see that there's 1, 2, 3 people that had 100% completed. This person got us, around between the 58 and 71 percentile, meaning they passed. Over here, we're in the 90s and 80s. So A's, C, everybody that finished 100% of their questions have received 10 points, regardless of where they're at. Again, the better we do, the better off we are. But for instance, right now, this person has only completed 67% of the questions, even though they're doing very, very well. So all we need to do is finish the questions, we get the full credit. So please keep that in mind. You can see that there are people who are 78% completed, 81% completed. Everybody's doing very well. Now, down here, we have 100% completed and only 22% passing. So not sure if that means we're just clicking through, not sure if that means we've exhausted all of our extra chances, but what I do know is this individual has not asked one question this entire time. So that's why we do these Zoom sessions. That's why we do the live streams. And that's why I invite us to do the email screenshots. I had today, and I'm not sure, I'm gonna check to see. Doesn't look like he's signed on, but I just got done talking with Mr. Neal, who did a screen recording of an issue that he was having with Knowre. And I was very quickly able to answer his question, and it made complete sense. But if you're having an issue, that's why we email or we have these discussions. So that's why today, what we're supposed to be doing today is asking any questions that we still might have that go over our Knowre questions, our 7.2 through 7.5 skills practices, and allows me to answer those questions for you. If we don't have any questions, there's really not much I can do to help you get through that homework other than wait to see if you email me. I do want to show you that way if anybody else is having any issues. Hush. This is what was sent to me. So if you have, is everybody able to see the screen right now where it's a Knowre question? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it. I want you to watch down here where it says, over here, the ratio of TM to LV, the ratio of MB to LY, the ratio of TB to YV. And you can see as I'm playing the screen grab, the screen recording that he made, he's entering exactly what he sees. The length of TM, the length of LV. He has done absolutely nothing wrong. He's entering now TB and YV. And as he goes through this, he's getting a little frustrated because he's entering all the numbers. And this is, I believe, the second time he's done this, because he already has something filled in down here. But he's now pointing out to me that he's entering the correct fractions and showing our proportionality statement here. And then it does say that, how did we prove these triangles similar? And notice it says one more try. And so now he goes back and he's showing up here that everything matches. Now, what I want to point out is after he picks that, here's the issue. This says ratio, this says ratio, this says ratio. What does that mean I'm supposed to do?
Shouldn't you simplify it?
Absolutely. And when I went back and they showed after this, because I'm not going to have you now watch the last, well, yeah, I will as I talk, but as you watch and they start walking him through this, you can see up here, and I'm going to pause it right here. It says, write the ratio of TM to LV in simplest form. And that's exactly what that whole purpose of ratio meant, that we were supposed to write these all in simplest form. And he went through, and again, if you take a look, he still puts in the 5/15. Nothing would be wrong with this if we were just solving for X. The issue is it asks for the ratio, and the whole purpose of this question is to then show, the whole purpose of this question is to show just how side is when we say that it's all corresponding sides must be in proportion, which means they're supposed to all be the same ratio, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I was able to explain that to him over email. He went back, did the problem again, plugged all those numbers in correctly this time, and got the question correct. Now, it is something that, again, was context clues and a very small error, but it was something that was frustrating. He asked, I answered, problem was solved. So I wanted to make sure that we took care of that. So those are the requirements. This is how it's getting graded. You all saw that grades were updated and emails have gone home and phone calls have been made. And I really wish we were all back in the classroom, because then it would be so much easier to communicate. But please make sure you are checking all of your information on the regular. Are there any questions before I move on to the other question that was asked of me via email?
I don't really have a question. It's more of a thing to say about Knowre. Like, I know that I'm doing the work correctly because I have it checked. And then I also ask my parents and stuff, because they're pretty good at math. And I ask them to check it, and they know that I'm doing the work correctly. It's just I keep putting it in wrong, but I don't know how it wants me to put it.
Okay, so that's where I would suggest, if it is something that after the first or second try, when they give you the video, you need to take a screenshot of that, email me, and it could very well just be that I go in, I check the question, and it could be that you think you're putting everything in correctly, but something like no segment bar over the top will make it wrong, because it is wrong. We talk about how the symbols are supposed to be in and they need to be there. And if they're not there, then that's a wrong answer. Or if the letters are reversed and they don't correspond, we see it as the segment is correct. But again, because it is that small correspondence issue where our letters aren't in the same order, that could be what's causing the issue. The same thing that Mr. Neal found today, where he thought he was doing everything correct, he wasn't reducing. So it's those attention to details that we've talked about all year that now, because it is something to get through the question, that's what they're looking for. We have to make sure that we're paying attention to that. And again, that is as simple as take a screenshot of it. And like I was just able to share his, I can share that all with you. And then not only is your question answered, but everybody else's who might have the similar issue gets answered as well. So it could be that you're doing almost 100% of it correctly, but that 1% where we're not putting in the right symbol could cause the whole thing to come up wrong. And that's
the other thing. The other thing that I found with helping some kids through with Knowre is they hate fractions, and I know you addressed it in a previous Zoom or YouTube Live, where they don't want the fractions or the decimals as answers. So even though you guys are used to using your calculator and getting a even a stopping decimal at 4 or 5 decimal places, they're still gonna more than likely your answer needs to be in that fraction format with radicals.
Oh yeah, and that was the last live stream, and it's obviously still at my YouTube channel. We addressed that specifically because I know people were doing the work correctly, and I probably tried, I think I even made the comment, I tried like 4 or 5 different questions per problem that students were asking about, and every single one of them, unless it tells you where specifically to round, like the nearest 10th or the nearest 100th, which I did not see any in those situations. Every answer was a fraction, and a fraction that could very well have a radical. So we, in fact, had one that was like 3 radical 10 over 4, or 11 radical 202 over 9. So those are things, and we showed specifically in the last live stream how to plug those in using the icons that pop up when you click inside the box. So that also could be an issue, and I appreciate you bringing that up because that was a major point that we made at the last live stream. Any other questions? All right, so if you do, just chime in because obviously we're thankfully real time. This was a question that was asked in the email. I've already emailed that person back, but I did say that I would address it full class just so that everybody who showed up today would have the opportunity, or who chose to watch the video would have the opportunity to get number 6. Again, the evens are the only ones that I am requiring from the skills practice. Remember, the odds are extra credit. And if I counted correctly, the extra credit would actually earn you 1 more point than the required work. So who knows? Some of you guys could really dig yourselves out of a hole here if you did the entire skills practice. First thing, it says identify the similar triangles. So the first thing that we have to do here is actually create our similarity statement. So I know that I have vertical angles here that are already going to be congruent. And my parallel lines, I know, tell me that I'm going to have alternate interior angles. So the Z shape, again, those opposites are going to give me alternate interior angles. And those have to be congruent because my lines are parallel. But I also have alternate interior angles in the other direction. And we don't need all 3 to prove the similar triangles. We only need 2 of the 3. But it's going to help by putting all the tick marks in to play the matching game when we do have to list our triangles in corresponding order. So if I chose to identify the first one, JLK, and again, I can pick that one however I want. It's how I match the second one. So we went 2, 1, bar. We're going to go 2, 1, bar. So this would have to be MLN. So that's the very first question. And I even put on our paper that there were 2 questions. I typed that onto our PDF to make sure that you saw that. Now the second question asks us to identify the length of JL. Now here's also an issue that we've had not only in the classroom, but also on Knowre. We're plugging in a number that was X and not the actual length. So please make sure we pay attention to that. This guy is so important because without even looking at this picture now, if I've put these in the correct order, my proportionality statement says that the first 2 letters should match with the first 2 letters. Those are 2 corresponding sets of sides. LK should match with LN, corresponding pair of sides. And then the first and last close off our triangle, so JK should match with MN. This is needed to make sure we can do this correctly. And then I look to see I have JK and NM. So this is going to be one of the ratios I'm going to use. I have JL and I have its corresponding piece ML. So that's one of the ratios I'm going to use. So when I come back here to set up my work, I know I'm going to use X plus 18 over X minus 3, and it's going to be equal to 16 over 4. So again, using this to get our proportionality statement to identify which 2 fractions I'm going to use, now we're going to cross multiply and solve. And once I cross multiply, we end up with 4 times X plus 18 and 16 times X minus 3. And we do have 4 times 18. I'm going to do that one just so that I don't go off of memory. 4x plus 72 would equal 16x minus 48. Again, just using the distributive property. I am going to subtract 4x from both sides. And we end up with 72 equals 12x minus 48. And when I add 48 to both sides, we end up with 120 equals 12x. Divide by 12 and we should find out that x is 10. Now x is 10 isn't the answer. We need to find out that JL is x plus 18 or 10 plus 18. So when we list this answer, we end up with JL is 28. So the 2 answers that we actually want for this problem are right here. Here's all the work that told me how to get there. So that was an issue that was asked. They weren't quite sure how far we needed to go. And that's all that we're asking. Identify what triangles are similar, which means they're similar. Tell me what they are. And then use that information to help you solve for what else was necessary. So that again was a question that was asked. I wanted to make sure that I did address it. Was there any other questions that you have now thought about while we're here? If not, I do again want to reiterate a couple other things. If you have not emailed me your test corrections, you absolutely can still email me test corrections from your quadrilateral test. I know I keep putting in the test corrections as I get them. You absolutely can get me the test corrections. There are a number of you that the last week we were together, I handed you yet again papers that you had late work or multiple late work assignments. If you have that, you can take pictures of that and email those to me. Please make sure that, again, all of that is prior to the 13th, because again, those are things that I need to make sure get graded and updated in the grade book, so that I have the opportunity to update your grades accordingly. So I was asked already today, what about test corrections? What about any late work? Absolutely, you have the opportunity now that you're at home to work through them at your leisure, not too slow, and email me pictures of your questions so that we can work together to get them taken care of. And I know Miss J already said that she has, if you didn't notice in the chat, she has a little more flexibility in her schedule working with students than I do. So if you're working on assignments or have a lighter load on a Tuesday or Thursday and need help, you can always email her and she can set up Zoom sessions as well. One thing that I did tell my other classes is, if for some reason, whether it's Friday, so that would be the 3rd, if we want to Zoom again, we can. But honestly, if you are having major concerns and you want to set up something, I know spring break is time to kind of shut down. But if you're really, really concerned and need help, you need to email me and maybe we can set up something as well, just to kind of get you through and out of 3rd quarter and into 4th quarter. So I guess the question is, Friday is technically a day that we don't have to meet, but I guess I want to know, is that something where you want as a last minute opportunity, do you want to meet Friday or just use Friday on your own time to work and email me if you have questions? So do we want to meet as a Zoom session or live stream session, or do we want to just work and if we have questions, email me? What are your thoughts? Nobody wants to chime in?
I do definitely want to add that the end of the quarter for us as teachers is April 17. So that's a Friday after spring break. So I know Mrs. Caprell has been very generous in her time frame of allowing you to get work turned in, but she's not going to have any leeway after the 17th because we've already pushed back the quarter further than what it already was. So please know, for all your classes, the quarter ends April 17th. That's the Friday you get back from spring break. So all your work has got to be turned in or we cannot enter it into the grade book.
And understand that the 17th is the deadline for us to enter it in the grade book. So if you're emailing me work to get graded or test corrections to get graded on the 17th at like 9 o'clock at night, it's too late. We have to make sure, and that's why I keep saying that, you know, we have these benchmark due dates that we kept talking about for all of these, but in the system, it still allows you to hand them in a little later so that if there was any issues, you're not stressed for time. But again, if you haven't been budgeting your time accordingly, that's going to pile up real fast. So that's why I'm kind of shooting for this 13th. That way, any late assignments or any issues that we have that need to get in, we have a little bit of wiggle room. But the 17th, my grades have to be updated and off and ready. I can't wait past the 17th. So, yes.
For the Knowre assignment,
Yes, sir.
it's 8-5 triangles and polygons or something like that, right?
Uh-huh.
For the Knowre assignment, it's
Yes.
8-5 proportional segments and stuff like that, right?
Okay, I'm looking as you're talking.
Yeah, proportions and triangles.
Uh-huh.
Or that's it, right?
Yes. So what I
Okay.
assigned to you, like I'm going into actually your class right now, the 8-5 lesson is proportions and triangles. So that's our side splitter theorem. So that shortcut that we talked about, that I said isn't required. It's not needed to solve, but it is a shortcut that also tells us, if sides are parallel, if it works. And that's also the section where we did our angle bisector theorem. So please keep that in mind. So that's where we talked, and I know we've done quite a few examples, live stream or Zoom with that. So make sure if you're still having questions on any particular one, you by all means can ask, and I'm pulling up right now my 8-5, because I know if you take a look real quick, I'm assuming you can see my 8-5 screen right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Right here, 5, 6, 10, 14, and 15. These are questions that we have done, and I've taken screenshots of and uploaded to Google Classroom as well, just so that you can kind of see the progression. But was there any one particular question that you were struggling with in here that you can remember?
Honestly, I haven't even started it.
Okay.
I started up the video, but I'm gonna try to get as much of it done today as possible.
Okay, so here is the one question right here. Can you see number 5?
Yeah.
Okay. This one came up quite a bit as an issue, and this is where I even did the problem a number of times and was getting frustrated, because it does say here, if a line intersects two sides of a triangle and splits the intersected sides proportionally, then the line is parallel to the third side. So that's technically what our side splitter theorem, that shortcut theorem that we've talked about. So it's telling us if 3 to 2 is the same as 4.5 to 3, then AB is going to be parallel to DE. And in my calculator, I could take 3 over 2 and find that it's 1.5. In my calculator, I could take 4.5 over 3 and find it's also going to reduce to 1.5. So yay, these sides are proportional, which means AB is parallel to ED. So I came down here and I plugged in AB, again, capital letters, because if they're not capital letters, it's wrong. And I plugged in ED, and I'm going to tell you that if I push solve it, they're going to tell me I'm wrong. And I was like, how is that possible? I'm not paying attention, and I know that the couple students who asked this question weren't paying attention, that when you click on this box right here, can you see my cursor pointing at that guy?
Yes, I was
okay.
muted.
Okay, that's okay. I know. This is a segment, and without a segment over the top of AB, so I click on that, and then I can plug in AB. And over here, I have to click on that segment first and then enter capital E, capital D. And again, this is something, Kate, you may have noticed. If I don't keep it A, B, and then the other one in corresponding order, E, D, again, the A and the E correspond, the B and the D correspond, that could also come back as incorrect. And we were very, very specific this whole year since the beginning to keep things in corresponding order.
The side splitter.
Yes. So this is something that we want to make sure that we pay attention to, and then that comes up, yay, and the guy celebrates. So that was something that we had quite often, and I did a couple other problems like that. Number 14, just to show you, this was a problem that I did specifically at our last class session, that we cannot do our angle bisector theorem where we would take 6 to 12 and then x to whatever this is, because we don't know what this is. So we have to figure out the full length using the Pythagorean theorem. And once we have the full length, then we can take that number minus x and label over here. So I did all of that in the last section, because this is a problem that when we enter it over here, you're going to have to not only use a fraction, but in that fraction, you might also have to put a radical on top and a number on the bottom. So make sure that even though this question is an angle bisector situation, we are very careful to work that problem out. And again, I did a lot of these in the last live stream. So if you go to that video, you'll see step by step how that's done.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, guys? Like this one, Donovan, number 12 is one of the more straightforward ones. We know that the sides of the triangle are proportional with these pieces down here. So I would take 2 over PC equals 1.6 over 4. And I would just keep that proportion cross multiply. Now this guy right here, because it's a decimal, you most likely will be able to enter a decimal. If it comes back wrong, try the fraction. And that might be the only difference. I would suspect that if there's a decimal, that the decimal might work. So let's just, for giggles, 2 over PC equals 1.6 over 4. And this is going to be 1.6 PC would equal 8. 8 divided by 1.6. Well, that comes out to be a 5. So it's not a decimal. It does, this particular question comes out to be 5. And so I don't have to worry about it as a decimal, but if it was, it most likely would, ooh, I earned a coin. So keep that in mind too, that if it's as a decimal, it might come back okay to put a decimal. Okay. And if not, change it to a fraction.
Okay.
Anybody else? So, you guys tell me who are here. Do we want to meet Friday, or are you guys just going to go ahead and work Friday and email me? I know I had Blake said email if there are any questions. Anybody else have a preference, or does email sound like what might be best? Because it won't be any new information. It would just be answering your questions.
Email.
I don't have a preference.
Okay. Well, if you do, obviously share your feelings with me. Email me. I will upload everything, the document, at least that I had here with you guys. This will be uploaded both to my YouTube videos, and I will try to see if I can upload it right into Google Classroom, so you don't got to go anywhere for this. I really appreciate your feedback and your questions. It does make life much easier for me. And it was good to hear some of your voices. So keep working hard, but make sure you rest and get some relaxation, but don't stop focusing. And I will check my email all the time to make sure I don't fall behind as well. And everybody thank Miss J for joining us and helping, because it makes stuff a lot easier for us as well.
Thanks, Mr. J.
All right, everyone, have a great day. And I will, if I don't talk to you Friday, I will talk to you after spring break. Just keep checking Google Classroom for updates. You guys have a great afternoon.
You too.
Thanks.